So today I'm going to focus on the stove. It's going to go in this corner, and there's going to be a metal pipe as a chimney. But first I want to cover up all the cracks in this corner because it's going to get difficult to get behind the chimney afterwards. The chimney's going to... So I think the key to making this clay easily is to kind of scrape it off the walls of a hole that you're digging so it comes off in tiny little pieces. And then when you just mix water, it's much easier. You don't have clumps. So I need a hammer to hammer that chisel through there to make a hole for the pipe. And yeah, I just chopped it up in maybe 5 minutes from a chunk of wood that I cut off a chunk of the cap. So here with the chisel and a homemade mallet, I'm just hammering this chisel through to cut out this hole for the chimney that'll come out. There you go. Cut that out for the chimney. It's a nice hole in the side of the roof. So I'm going to center it. I'm going to fill this all with clay, and then I'm going to heat up the stove so it should fire the clay, or it'll keep cracking, but I'll keep adding layers. And that should be relatively waterproof, I hope. So we'll see how that goes. So it's a 60 millimeter outside diameter pipe with a 3 millimeter wall thickness. I think it's stainless steel. So it should last a long time. Looks about right. It could be a little bit higher, but I'm hoping nothing comes out of there that'll set the roof on fire. But it's always raining here, so I think the roof will always be wet. Yeah, it's exciting. Alright, this is my plan for this wood burning stove. I have one of these IKEA cutlery strainers, and I cut a hole and bent it back, the pieces, so that it holds this pipe. Because this pipe is quite heavy, and if I would just try and set it in clay, I think it would just fall out. Alright, so I put these metal supports, and these are just basically to hold the logs that are on fire up so the air can come underneath. There's quite a bit of space there for air to come under. Now I'm going to put another layer of clay on both sides. So I get that small, really small pieces of clay from that hole by kind of scraping the sides, and I add water, and then I mix it all together with my feet. So as you're mixing, you do this a lot where you just kind of pull the tarp over, make kind of like a log, and then you can just squish this back down and then repeat. And this really gets the wet parts and the dry parts all mixed together. So this is pretty hard, and it is pretty easy to fall because you have clay that's extremely slippery, and also sometimes so much sticks to your foot that it'll take your shoe off, or it's really hard to lift your foot because you have, 10 kilograms of clay attached to your foot. Like that. Then when you have a pretty wet clay that's thoroughly mixed, then I add some grass. So you should have different lengths of grasses. This is pretty much all long grass, and dry grass is also better. But you just throw some grass on there, and then you keep flipping it over and mixing it together, and you can see how much will stick on your shoe. And the grass fibers hold the clay together when it cracks and make sure it doesn't fall apart as easily. Alright, that's what I got for that batch. It's a pretty big batch. This should be enough to finish the stove. Plug up that hole, and maybe you can plug up some holes in the cabin if I have some extra time. Alright, the oven is pretty much done. So, on the top there, that's where you put your wood and start the fire. At the bottom, the coals will drop down and air will come in there. And then everything's sealed up. So here's a nice cook plate. I can cook my food here. And then you have this long tube that should help warm the cabin. Then here I put a bunch of clay on the inside and the outside. And you go to the outside, then you have this tube sticking out. And I think rainwater is going to come in and stuff, so I'm not sure if I need to build a little cap for that. But now I'm just going to fire it up and kind of try and solidify all this clay. It's still really wet. And I'm trying to do something so when the water's coming down the roof, it kind of goes around. I'm not sure. But I think if I fire it up now and I kind of dry it out, that'll help so it doesn't wash away in the next rainstorm. And I'm very happy with the setup. It cost, I don't know, maybe $5. It's a few little parts like that IKEA strainer. This pipe would have been expensive, but I found it in the garbage. The clay's free. So the clay I got right from this hole that's directly beside the cabin, and the grass I just got from wherever I could find it. Water is free. Yeah, so the sun's just setting now. perfect time. I'm going to try and warm it up and then actually try and make my dinner. I don't know if that's going to work. The sun's just setting. So I'm very excited to see smoke come out of this chimney. First fire in the stove. I don't really see any smoke. There was a little hole, but I plugged it right away with some clay. It's working super well. And the surface is already really hot, so I think I could already cook on it. It's pulling really well to the pipe. Pipe's already very warm, very hot at the bottom. And let's see if we have some smoke coming out. Woo! That's exciting. Oh, a tiny bit of smoke coming out. Gotta patch that. Fire's going pretty good in there. That wood burning stove I just built. Drying out that clay. Sometimes it goes bang. And then outside, smoke's coming out of the chimney. It's even warm up here. Oh, that's the clay. There's a lot of water in it, so it's boiling and it's popping. It's still pretty hot. So this here, I'd like to have some heat sinks or something where I can blow air across some fins maybe, and really try and get all this heat off this pipe and into the cabin. Alright, I'm all done for the night. So I had this like bread pan, this tinfoil bread pan thing, so I just squished that over the chimney, and I'm hoping that will stop rain from going in and it won't blow away. So when I come back, before I light the fire, I'll just slide this off, and then before I leave, I'll slide it on again to protect it from water going in. That's it.